Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day you're watching this. Welcome to TrueFam Media. My name is Chris, and I'm here with my co-founder, Tiffany. Tiffany, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm excited. It's the afternoon actually if you're in Eastern Standard Time. I was going to say good afternoon, but it's good morning for some of y'all. I'm
That's
excited,
true.
Chris, because we're doing something we have not done on our channel before, which is bringing in some of our fabulous creators that are part of the
Yes.
TrueFam community. And I'm honestly just really thrilled about what we're going to be chatting about today. We have
Yeah.
three awesome creators that are going to be jumping on. So I
hmm
just want to kind of say and share how excited I am about that. And always excited to be with you, of course, but I'm definitely excited for new people.
Yes, no, I totally relate to that, Tiffany. My favorite part of being involved with TrueFam Media is the fact that we are connected with some incredible creators that we've got to meet and get to know. And like, I would not have spent time on these people's channels if not for their involvement with us. And it's such a pleasure. I'm excited to kind of showcase a few of them this morning, as well as talk about, hey, some things are changing around here with what we're hoping to accomplish. And I'm so excited about it.
Yo, some things are changing. A lot of things are changing. And I think that I just saw that, JST Music pops on here. He says, change can be good. I'm so glad you're not ending like the thumbnail suggested. It's true. We're not yet
Yeah, that was
ending
true.
like the thumbnail suggests. We wanted to
But
ask the question and provoke a little bit, but we're
mm,
not quite ending. But we want to talk about the direct shift that's happening for TrueFam
right.
Media and for the company. And so, Chris, I really want to just I don't know, give credence to this time to accept the
hmm
fact that change is in fact good. It's not a bad thing. Don't be afraid of change. So
Right.
let's talk about the first kind of thing. Let's talk about what
hmm
True Fan Media has been. Let's just kind of
Right.
lay it out for just a moment, okay? So True Fan Media is a company that is all about accountability, creative
Yes.
accountability for Christian creators. We have
hmm
been kind of carving our space as a place to help with high level instruction and quality teaching about YouTube and about video production. And we really just wanted to see Christian content creators succeed, their YouTube channels grow, and ultimately they get exactly what their goals are on the platform. And that's still very much who we are, Chris. But the change and the shift comes when we start talking about how we're going about doing that. How are we providing this accountability? We had started
Right.
off, if some of you guys who have been with us, you guys kind of knew that we were pushing really heavy for feedback groups. The idea of sitting in a group of people, it's really how me and Chris met, right? We met in learning and kind of criticizing and giving constructive criticism to each other's content. And that was great. And it was awesome. And we learned a lot from that. But I think where we're at now as a company, as a business, and as a YouTube channel and collaborative team is that we really want to shift away from just feedback groups
hmm
and go into being more available and connecting with Christian
Right.
content creator community, plus a couple things that we're going to share with you later on in this
Yes.
stream. But I just want to invite you in, Chris. Like, how do you feel about the transition that we're about to make, that we're in the middle of making?
Right. Well, I think, the kind of almost clickbaity question, is this the end of True Fam, is interesting to me because for some people it might be. Because what we recognized, Tiffany, is True Fam Media is not for everybody.
Yeah,
And that is something that I'm very interested in. But to get back to just kind of the direct, clear shift that we're making away from just saying like, hey, like join a feedback group, which I'm a big believer in feedback groups. I'm a big believer in
yes.
accountability. Tiffany, what I love about this is our goals haven't changed. Like we're still here to help Christian creators, to help YouTubers who are struggling to make it, who want real community, who are serious about growth. Like that is our heart, and that is what we're most passionate about. Those are the things that we enjoy the most, is just having
Yeah.
those conversations. And so we're just kind of like asking the tough questions. Hey, what is it that people really need to grow? What is it that we can provide that really help people grow? And the one thing I know people need is feedback, and I know people need connection with other creators. And so I'm so
Mm.
excited about the shifts that we're making towards kind of even who we're trying to attract, as well as the way that we're approaching that meeting that goal and meeting those needs.
100%. And Chris, I just want to shout out for anybody that's here. Make sure that you share this broadcast. Make sure you share it with other Christian content creators and people who might be interested in this new change, because we have had some pushback on
Mhm.
these growth mindset conversations.
Yeah.
And when we talk about the growth mindset, let's define some terms, Chris. Right, the growth
Hmm.
mindset is typically characterized in most circles, whether that be leadership development or business entrepreneurial type spaces, as a mindset that says, I want to grow no matter the cost. I'm going
Yeah.
to invest in my growth. I'm going to make a choice to grow. And
Yeah.
it may cost me something. It may cost me a lot. It may cost me time. It may cost me energy. It may cost me my ego, but I am
Yeah.
going to grow regardless of what I see in front of me, because I believe that there's something beyond that. And I think that the growth mindset that we at TrueFam really want to
Hmm.
curate for people and to
Right.
create a space for is we want to create a mindset that says, I'm not entitled to subscribers or to
Hmm.
views. I am going to work at a high level to make sure that
Yes.
my content is warranting the very virality that I'm asking for. That's
Yeah.
really what this is about. It's about shifting from, I just want to get subscribers. I just want my videos to do well. I just want
Yeah.
people to love what I'm doing, and moving into a space of, I'm going to grow overall as a creator. My character is going to
Yeah.
grow. My discipline is going
Hmm.
to grow. My tenacity is going to grow. And my ability to make excuses is going to dissipate. We're going to end our desire to keep making excuses about why
Right.
we're doing this or that. And I think where we're kind of leaning into is really asking for those of you guys that are already a part of the TrueFam community. We love you and we're so thankful for you. And we hope that
Absolutely.
you're patient with us during this time as we move some things around. But we have some exciting things coming that we think are going to really help incentivize the fact that you
Right.
believed in us first. You
Yeah.
believed in us when no one else knew what TrueFam was. And when me and Chris were really just figuring this thing out, you invested your time and your energy with our videos and with our content and with our instruction. And we
Hmm.
genuinely appreciate that. And that's what some of the creators that are going to be coming on today are going to share, just
Yeah.
how they have recognized that the growth mindset is so important.
Hmm. So, Tiffany, I want to say one in regards to pushback. That is what happens when you start asking tough questions. When
Yeah.
you start saying, like, hey, we're looking at a lot of incredible creators and we're not seeing the growth that they deserve. And we're kind of wondering, hey, what if some of the things that we've been trying to do aren't working? What if the way we've
Mm,
been approaching growth on YouTube, what if it's wrong? And when you start asking tough questions, one, people don't want to change. People don't want to believe that what they've been doing might not be the best approach.
it's
And
true.
I'm not here to say what is or what isn't the best approach. I don't know. But here's one thing I do believe, that if everyone is doing the same thing and everyone's experiencing similar results, then we have to ask questions. We have to ask hard questions, and we have to be willing to change and be flexible. And when we gain new information, we have to be willing to act on that information. That's how growth happens. That's how learning happens. And
Yep.
so that's why we're kind of making some of these changes. And there's really two key Facebook groups that we're involved with, Tiffany. And if I'm getting ahead of myself, forgive me. But I do want to talk about the YouTube Cafe. Is
Yes.
a Facebook group that we've been able to kind of begin to help and support. And I'm so excited that we've just changed the name of that group to YouTube Cafe for Christian creators, because it really is a place where we're trying to do things differently. There's a lot
Right.
of wonderful Christian YouTube support groups. And what I've noticed is a lot of them are doing similar things. It's almost
Yeah.
kind of like everyone's doing the same thing. You know what? We don't need every group to do the same thing the same way. And most of us involved are in all of these groups, and we don't need to be in four groups that are doing the same thing. And it's kind of been like, all right, I have four different places to promote my video. But we're excited about YouTube Cafe to really shift its focus from just promoting our videos to actually engaging in conversations with other creators.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you brought up the YouTube Cafe, because as our members of TrueFam, the private community, understand and
Yes.
know, one of the things that we are often aware of in this space is that we're very isolated. Creators make content in silos; they're by themselves, and every now and again they poke their head out to kind of look at the YouTube groups and see who's there. But what we want to do is we want to start creating these intentional communities and recreating
Yes.
them. And the best way that I think we're doing that, Chris, is with the YouTube Cafe. So now we have an opportunity to start having conversations, start doing live streams. We would love if you guys would go ahead and join that. It is a free group. You can join it on Facebook.
Yeah.
And we'll make sure that we put the link in the chat, or somebody make sure that you put the link in the chat for everyone so that they can check it out. I believe the link is like facebook.com/groups/YouTube Cafe for Creators. It's the longest thing ever. But I want us to really push ahead because I love seeing what other people think about genuine community and genuine authenticity. So we have a couple creators here today that we're really excited to introduce to you guys and excited to bring them up to talk. And the first creator we have is Amanda. She is a part of our TrueFam community, a part of our private Facebook group and feedback group. And we're excited because we want to hear a little bit about Amanda's story. So I'm going to bring her up so she can introduce herself.
That might be challenging. It seems like we've lost her.
We lost her for like 2 seconds.
I think she's back. She seems to be having maybe some connection problems. So we'll see how this goes. We're gonna try to bring her on.
Let me see how Amanda's doing.
We're gonna have a check-in. We're gonna check in.
Yeah, we'll check in first and see if she's doing okay. Hey Amanda, we're trying you out just to see if you're all right to come up. How are you feeling? Are you able to connect?
I don't know.
We kind of hear you, but we are struggling to see you.
Yeah, we don't see you. We just see the black box, and it's okay. It's like the news. You guys ever seen the news when they can't get the feed up and they're just like waiting? Hi, Amanda. Can you hear us? Maybe.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh no, I don't think we can hear you, Amanda.
Times you guys in and out, so I don't know if it's on my end.
No worries. I think we hear you, but we can't really see your picture.
Oh, and we lost her. Oh, no.
That's okay. No worries. Well, what we can do, though, is we can bring up another creator a little bit sooner than we anticipated, but no worries. Hopefully we'll get Amanda back in here. Flo, we're going to bring you up next, and I'm glad that you are ready to go. How are you? This is Florence Annette White, also known as Chats with Flo on YouTube. And Flo, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. How about you guys?
We're so good. I'm so excited to have you on here. I just have to start off. This has nothing to do with your interview, but I have to start off by saying your set looks incredible. The fact that this is your home and that you decorated it. I remember back when you guys purchased and you had started filling things in there, and you've talked about your home being a sacred space and a space that you wanted to invest your time in. It looks incredible. So well done. It really does look like a sanctuary. So, Flo, I just want to ask a couple of questions, kind of going along with what me and Chris are talking about with the growth mindset of the TrueFam creator, right? And what it looks like to be a creator who is both a believer, but also has an incredible message to share. So, why did you start, and why did you decide to start doing YouTube?
Well, it was one of those things where I didn't plan, but when I got my iPhone, it just came to me. And was one of those things where when the thought came to me, I kind of like pushed it off because I'm very introverted and I'm not good at communicating. So I didn't think that it was really a good idea. But then I have learned through years of experience, when something keeps coming to you, then you need to pay attention to it. And so like the third time it came to me, then that's when I paid attention. And I would say that what made me start it is that I've been in church all of my life, and I learned about God and how to serve him and how to get close to God, but I didn't really know the basic things of my everyday life when it comes to being a wife and being a mom. And so I would say that kind of like encouraged me to want to share with others what I have learned in my life, especially since I am 51 years old. So like whatever role that I play in my life, I've been in it for over 10 years or more. So I just wanted to share with others some of the things that I've learned, and hopefully that it will help someone else.
Yes, that is beautiful. Honestly, especially, I mean, there's not a lot of 51-year-olds that start YouTube. And this isn't one of the questions that like we plan to ask, but I would love to know, did you receive any like pushback or criticism from people in your life about starting a YouTube channel?
What was so funny about it? Okay, I felt that I would. So when I first started, for a long time, I didn't share it with anyone. I just started. And I think I did it for that reason, because of the fact that I didn't need to hear that right then, and then later, like once people that I know found out about it, and they were excited about it, it was also a surprise just because of me and my personality.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just realized I muted myself. What I really like about your story too, Flo, is that first of all, Flo is probably one of the most consistent creators I have seen in general, like on the platform. She cranks out content. It is well researched. It's well studied. She understands it because a lot of it is in your life experience, right, Flo? Because I know this comes out of what you've done. But what I appreciate is that since I've seen you on the platform to now, you really have had this mindset of like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it all the way. And like, I'm not going to half bake this. So I guess I want to ask, for somebody with that personality type, like what are your goals on YouTube? Because you started kind of haphazardly, but then you really went for it. So you must have now a reason that you're doing it. What are your personal goals for doing YouTube?
I do want to make it a full-time ministry. And also, it's like I am working on my first book too. And so I just believe that like once I get that first book out, then other ones will start flowing. But two, it's like another reason why I started too, and I wanted to do this because I wanted to encourage other women that was my age especially, and just to let them know that you can, if you don't like the way your life is going, it's never too late to learn and kind of like just turn your life around.
Wow. And your desire to be full-time,
yes.
you're saying, so you said a couple of things I just want to jump into. You said that you have a book coming out, which is this like the first peek? Are we just like the first people hearing it?
Yes.
Okay. I love it. So Flo's got a book coming out, y'all. Don't pretend like you didn't hear it here first. She has a book coming out. And your goals with the platform is to turn this into a full-time ministry. And what I think is so powerful about what you said is that you started with like not really an end in mind. It's like, I just want to encourage women, which is a great goal. And honestly, if anybody's listening and you're there in that place and you just want to encourage people, that's beautiful. But what I like, Flo, about your channel is that the Lord is, he's somebody that evolves, right? He can take a dream that you might have tucked way back in the back and start developing it. And then all of a sudden you're like in a whole different place than where you started. So can you just talk a little bit about why is it important for you to be connected to a growth community and a community that's pushing you to be better with every upload that you have?
I think it's very important as a content creator to be connected with a community that's going to cause you to grow. Because it's like, I think what's wrong with a lot of Christian YouTubers channels is that, okay, they develop the content, they put it out there, but then they don't try to make it better. And one of my main things that I do believe in is a scripture in the Bible that talks about whatever you do, to do it with all your might. And so I just want to do my best. And I don't want to give God anything, And it's just one of those things where I don't want to even limit myself. And that's one thing that I am so glad for you guys for, is because by me not having no type of experience with how to create content, and some of the videos that I ran that I watched of you guys, I wish I would have had them when I first started, because it kind of taught me how to, for instance, you guys have a tool that you use, and it's for before you get ready to create a video, different steps that you need to do. And so
5 questions to ask before you press record.
So once I started using that, you guys, it was just awesome for me. I felt like I knew where I was going, and then it helped me with my content to where I was able to say everything that I needed to say in that one video without feeling like later on, I should have added this. I should have, I was able to get my point across.
Yeah. Can I tell you, Flo, some things that you've said that I absolutely love? You started your YouTube channel and you kind of had this one goal: I want to encourage women, but it didn't like stop there. As you stepped out in faith and did something, and I don't think it's easy for It's not easy for anyone to muster up the courage to step out and start a YouTube channel. But at 51 years old, to kind of delve into this new platform that's probably a little bit foreign, with a learning curve of a lot of things that you really weren't sure about, that you didn't have all the technical knowledge when you started. You didn't know how to do everything you wanted to do when you started, but you stepped out and God began to give you dreams as you began to continue to develop on this platform. And the thing that I know is true, a lot of people at 51, if they were to start a YouTube channel, 2 years later, 3 years later, they might still be doing it, but their content many times doesn't grow. Their 50th video is about the same level as their first video. And with you, we have seen the growth. We have seen the transformation. And we're just so proud of where you're at and where you're going. We know that it's not going to stop here, that God has big plans for you. And we cannot wait to see what happens as you go down this path with your book and with your channel and all the things that God has for you.
Yes, I want to just affirm that exhortation as well, Flo. What I'm grateful for is that one of our biggest changes at TrueFam now is the focus on growth-minded creators. And you really exemplify that in a beautiful way, and in a way that is not limited by, I don't know, my age, my experience level. That's really powerful. And it speaks to, a character trait in you that says, I'm not going to let whatever people might say I should or shouldn't be doing, dictate what I do. And that's really huge. We hope that we continue to see what God's doing with you, but I hope that you're affirmed in the fact that you're doing the things you're supposed to be doing. I hope you know how, honestly, it's for me as a young woman, and to look up to another woman, and especially a Black woman and a woman who has been in God and been with Christ, it's really, really powerful to see that, because there aren't that many examples where someone will take something that's really scary to do and do it with all of their heart and mind. So bravo to you. Blessings to you, and thank you for being on this live stream and really, like I said, investing in me and Chris when nobody else really thought that this was an idea or concept to invest in. We sincerely appreciate you.
Yes.
Thank you guys for all that you do.
Yeah, no problem. Well, we'll see you hopefully in a future live stream when you're hitting 10,000 and 20,000, 100,000 subscribers. But we're going to kick you out here for now and bring up possibly our next guest. So we'll see you later, Flo. And make sure you guys, before I let her go, make sure that you check out Chats with Flo on YouTube. You can follow her. Florence, can you just give us really quick, what's the full YouTube URL? Is it youtube.com/chats with Flo?
Yes.
Okay, I will put it on the screen for our folks. youtube.com/chats with Flo. Make sure you guys go check out her channel, because she's got some amazing resources there. And you can see the progression of her growth, which I think is even more fun to look at. Look at where she started and look at where she is now. Thank you so much, Flo, for being on. And we will see you another time. Chris, I feel like we have to reset the stream and let everybody know we're here. We're TrueFam. And we're changing today. And the rest of the time.
Yes, we're shifting. And one of the big shifts that we're making that was highlighted so well as we were talking with Flo is the shift from just saying hey, we're here for Christian creators. And we are we love Christian creators. We want to help Christian creators get their message out there. But more specifically, we are here for Christian creators who are serious about growth as a creator. And when I say growth as a creator, Tiffany, I don't mean I want my channel to grow and I want views and subscribers. I want influence. I want to be famous. I want everyone to watch my videos. No, we want you to grow as a creator, because if you're not willing to grow as a creator, to put in the work, to put in the effort, to learn, to be on that path of personal growth, of you know what I'm trying to say, despite the fact that I just ran out of words. But if you're not willing to grow, then your channel will never grow. And if your channel does grow beyond your growth and as a creator, then it's not sustainable. And we want real, genuine, sustainable, organic growth on YouTube. That is our goal. It is possible. And it starts with a mindset shift. And that is what we are interested in.
100% mindset shift. I'm here for that. Also, Chris, I think the other thing that we have really shifted from our second major change is that we are moving from our basic model being those feedback groups, which we still love and still enjoy the accountability, and they will come in at a later date. But what we're thinking of doing now is really inviting the community into hard conversations, community conversations that essentially challenged our perspective and the way that we think about what we're doing. And honestly, you know, it's really interesting because when you look at the church, right, the church has had a huge reckoning where we've had to decide, are we going to continue to go forward the way that we have, or are we going to be, quote unquote, relevant to the culture, engaging the culture, and really helping them see that the Bible and the Lord has the answers that they're seeking. And so the church is dealing with that. Well, I'm going to say also that digital ministry and digital media is also dealing with that. And our next creator that we're going to bring up really speaks to this in a high way because she is challenging the perspective of mental health and Christianity and how to reconcile those two things. I'm really excited to bring you guys up to meet Amanda. And Amanda's going to tell us a little bit more about her story. But first things first, what's good, Amanda? We got the internet connection working, and you have to unmute yourself as well, darling, so we can hear you. There you are.
Wonderful.
Perfect.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. Oh, it's been a moment to get in here.
No, but you made it. We are here. We are here. And we're really grateful for you for being on.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Glad to be here.
So we're glad to have you here.
Yes.
I was going to say, I know that, you know, your YouTube journey has been an interesting one because it wasn't just a static, straightforward motion. I would love to know, just from the beginning, why have you decided to start YouTube or come back to YouTube?
Yes, I have an interesting road with YouTube. It started back in 2017 when I had this idea to teach Bible studies on YouTube to reach more people. And that kind of slowly morphed into what I'm doing now, which is with more of a focus and a niche on mental health and faith, because it's really with my story. But when I started, I had no idea what the Lord was doing. He just put it on my heart, and I was like, okay, let's try this. And a lot of different things happened since I started. I stopped a couple of times. My husband and I went overseas to serve as missionaries, and then we returned. So then I decided to start again. But having learned so much and also learned a lot with YouTube in general, just really decided to tell my story as my vision for my YouTube channel, rather than just teach Bible studies, which is a very good idea. But the Lord was like, I want you to be more vulnerable, more transparent, and to reach people who don't get these types of testimonies or answers that they're looking for. So, yeah.
Right.
And I don't want to give your whole channel away, Amanda, but you have a really interesting story and kind of testimony on your channel about how you were kind of pushed away by certain church groups about bringing out this kind of understanding of mental health and faith. Can you just touch on that a little bit for the audience? Like, because I think a lot of the people that are in our audience, a lot of creators feel that pushback, and they feel that desire to not be able to reconcile faith and maybe what God has told them to do. So can you just kind of explore that with us a little bit?
Yeah. So when my husband and I returned back from serving overseas, we did that 2 different times. We returned back because I was struggling with depression, and later discovered I was actually diagnosed with PTSD from some childhood situations, as well as some overseas traumatic situations that I went through.
Sure.
So, but when I came back, I wanted to talk. I wanted to not only tell my story as I was entering more of healing, but I wanted to help other people. And it wasn't as received as I thought it would be. And I was kind of shocked, and I was kind of grieved by that, because I knew I wasn't the only one. I knew I wasn't the only missionary that was coming back, burnout, depressed, feeling like a failure, and not understanding what God was doing, but just, so just continued to get my own healing and, stick close with the Lord. And I asked God, you know, why do I have this desire to talk and share my story when a lot of people, they don't want to talk about it. They want to ignore their own issues. So when I would share my story, it would just surface in them what they were struggling with, and they didn't want to do that. So I just kept moving forward, because I knew, well, I would hear different perspectives from younger generation as well, and they were more open to talk about it, the younger generation.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just kind of ignored some of the criticism and just moved forward with this. And I don't have a psychology background. I do have some like layman trauma healing training, which I do that on the side in person with different groups, and that's been really fun.
Mhm.
But I really think because I don't have the structured, education with psychology, I come at it with just differently. And I think
Yeah.
that's what YouTube provides for voices that have experienced something very difficult, and they're just telling their story, and
Yeah.
perhaps that can reach somebody else and encourage them to, get help as well and not be ashamed of it.
Mhm.
And realize it doesn't disconnect them from their walk with God, because even
Great,
though I
great.
struggled, my relationship with the Lord just grew closer and closer. And I had to learn that mental health and my spiritual life,
Mhm.
they are connected, but mental health can be kind of disconnected from trauma and from different things that,
Yeah.
I could go on and on about it, but that's kind of the gist of it.
So one thing I have to say is that I love your content. I resonate with your content. As someone who is in ministry, I can attest there's so many people in ministry that do struggle with teetering on the edge or operating well past the edge of burnout.
Yes.
And mental health is a problem. And of course, in the greater church in general, I know my background and my upbringing pretty much says like, no, you don't struggle with mental health. If you do, like,
Right.
you just don't have enough faith, and that's
Right.
problematic. And so I'm glad that
Right.
you're speaking out about this and that you're finding people that resonate
Yeah.
with you, the messages that God has given you and that your story lends to. And the thing that I love about both your story here and Flo's story as well is you're creating content out of your life, out of who you are, out of what God has been preparing you to do. And, a lot of people, they start creating content and there's not like an overall kind of story on their channel, so to speak. It's kind of like, let me just start teaching scripture. And that's fine. If God has called you to teach scripture, that's great. But sometimes people start teaching scripture and maybe they're not actually qualified to do it. And, that just, I think we need to be careful to make sure we're really bringing out the word of God. And more importantly, that we're speaking out about what God has instructed us and led us to speak out to. And so for everyone who is teaching on YouTube or who's creating content, what content are you uniquely qualified to create that no one else can do? That's what we're looking for. We're looking for creators that have a uniqueness to them that, it's their story that is integrated into their channel.
Yes. Yes. Was that also a question?
That wasn't a question.
Okay,
I was just talking. But if
no,
you were to kind of go ahead.
I do want to ask a question on what Chris just said, because Chris, I think you laid the groundwork really well. Did you feel like you had an extraordinary pressure, Amanda, to create content a certain way because you are in the mental health space? Because again, it's not really a territory that a ton of believers or a ton of quote unquote religious authorities go into. So did you feel that you had more added pressure, less pressure doing it that way?
I actually felt more freedom to do it that way. I felt like when I was doing like more just Bible teaching, I just felt that I needed to watch other Bible teachers, where in this avenue where the Lord really had to press it in on me, because I kind of fought him on it for a while. But once I yielded to that, and I yielded to, embracing my own story, I had this freedom of, this isn't spoken a lot on YouTube, so there's not really that many people to watch. So I was like, I'll just create it as it is and see what happens. And I think it just gave me a lot more freedom. And then it just kind of opened up this door of, I have a lot more to share with it. And I didn't realize it until I actually kind of stepped into it by faith. And I also have a podcast that talks about mental health as well. And that kind of led this channel to go in that direction too, because my podcast was people were very interested in it, at least in my circle that were okay talking about mental health and faith. So I don't feel pressure. Maybe I should, but I haven't gotten any. I mean, my channel's small, so I haven't gotten any like pushback from those who are educated with psychology or counseling. I have my best friend; she studied psychology. I have close friends that have, so they know what I'm doing, and they haven't said anything like, oh, you're totally off the mark or anything, because it's a unique way of looking at mental health. It's not a clinical way. It's looking at it through faith, looking at it through how we can incorporate our relationship with God, and also looking at the Word of God and pulling out other people's experiences with mental health issues in Scripture, and then just learning from that. So
yeah, you said something really key that I'm going to loop into the last question we have for you, which is you said that there wasn't a lot of people doing what you were trying to do, and so there weren't a ton of examples to follow. So you kind of had to just create it, which sounds a lot like God, doesn't it? It just sounds like faith. Like, oh, I want you to do this thing, and you're like, all right, cool, God, what's the roadmap or the blueprint? He's like, there isn't one. We're just gonna go with it. So I guess to ask you, do you feel more confident, or how do you feel, I should say, in your confidence level when you're connected to a growth community and doing this thing that nobody else has necessarily done?
Okay. So when I decided to restart my channel in May of this year with this focus on mental health and faith, the Lord was like, you need a group, you need a support system. And I knew about you guys. I knew you, like, I loved both your channels, and y'all are very encouraging and uplifting. And I liked your professionalism that you brought to your channels. And so part of my obedience and stepping out in faith was joining a group, because I'd never done that before. And the groups that I've heard about in the past, they were so big, and I just didn't want to be a number or just an individual. I wanted to really be able to communicate and also really receive good feedback. And then there's a part of me that was like, you have to walk into humility to want to receive feedback and to want to grow. And I had done this so long without any feedback, and I was like, well, it's time to really move forward and take this serious. And now that I knew the direction that the Lord wanted me to go with this, it was just part of the process. And I've been very encouraged. I feel not alone anymore. I get excited when we have our calls, and I get excited to help other people as well, because as I'm helping, encouraging the others, I feel like, I don't know, it just feels good. Feels like family. And I can't have these conversations with people in my own circle because nobody around me does YouTube. Nobody. So before, I would feel alone, and I would feel kind of a little bit like maybe I'm just reaching for a pipe dream. But once I got involved in this group, it felt normal. It normalized it. And also, I'm not the only one struggling in different ways. And I feel like when I go forward, and as the channel grows and gets attention, I'm not afraid of that. So before, I was very afraid of success. I'll be honest. My fear was, what if I do succeed and it does grow, and then I get bad comments, and then I get pushback, because that's just part of it. Well, now I'm like, I'm not alone, and I know other people are going to be with me. So I feel confident in that and brave more.
So you said a couple things there that I think are incredibly key. The first being just humility. I mean, first of all, yes, we all tend to want feedback from our friends and family who don't do YouTube, so they can't give us proper feedback. And so we get involved in a group where someone actually can give us feedback. And if you're anything like me, and my experiences were all a little bit like this, we don't always like real feedback, because real feedback sometimes hurts. Real feedback sometimes is like, oh, I didn't do as good a job with that video as I thought I did. It felt like the best video I ever made, and maybe it was. Oh, you telling me it could be better? And that's the whole point, is yes, it can be better. All of us can be better. And it takes genuine humility to say, please help me improve. Please show me that my weaknesses, because we don't like to look at our weaknesses, do we? No, we don't. So I love that you have that attitude, and you have been just a wonderful asset to our group as we've been meeting. I mean, from the very first meeting, you just jumped right in and were giving feedback on a high level. And we're so grateful for that you did just jump right in. And it was like, like you were always there. So it was wonderful.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And honestly, guys, I see a lot of people in the comments saying they're going to check out Amanda's channel. I love this comment from
you.
Tony. He says, keep walking in
Yeah.
that truth. Ministering mental health, spiritual health, soul care, and entertainment is ministry to you
Oh,
for and whoever can receive it. It's not easy, but the obedient have to do it. And like,
thank you.
he's so right. You are being obedient. I think that what I like about your channel is that we hear a lot in this space that Christian content creators feel called by God to do what they're doing, but they don't feel called to grow. And I always find those to be in conflict with each other, because if God has called you to do something large, he's going to call you into accountability and growth as well. And those usually go in tandem. So I think, Amanda, that you are a great example of that, I felt called to this thing and I cannot do it without help. I really wish that we as believers would take that more to heart and really understand that those two, if God is calling you to be increased, he's going to also call you to come up in your own personal character and journey as well. So
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for you. And as the other woman in the group, in the feedback group, I'm super grateful for you. Thank you for being there. So I don't have to just yell at them all the time. And I want to say, you guys, please go and support Amanda's channel. She's got some great resources on there about mental health and faith. And really for anyone, if over the last year for COVID, it has been a mental health battle, guys. So please tap in, make sure that you check in with Amanda as well as Flo that we had first. And Amanda, we're going to kick you out of the studio now. We really appreciate your time. Thank you for being here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Chris, I'm so filled.
Yes, I do. Like I said, genuinely, just sitting and having these conversations with creators is the best part of what we do, whether it's on a live stream or in one of our creator chats that we do inside of the YouTube cafe or inside of our private community. It's the best thing. It always fills me up and leaves me smiling and optimistic and hopeful. Like, man, God's really got a plan for these creators. And I can't wait to see them continue to grow.
I want to really quick just to jump on that. If you're just now joining us, we are in the middle of talking about TrueFam Media and why we're changing everything about what we're doing. And we've already touched on the fact that we have changed our focus, right? We're really interested in the growth mindset and the growth-minded creator. And we have changed from just offering the feedback groups into more of a community conversation where we challenge the perspective of the Christian creator. And now we want to talk about our final change, or at least one of the many changes that we're making, on top of some really exciting things that we have coming up, Chris. And one of those, thank you. One of those is our audience. Who are we talking to? Now I have to tell you guys, this change has been the most difficult for Chris and I. We fight on a regular basis in our meetings every week because we want to make sure that what we're not doing is alienating any Christian creator that wants to be connected to TrueFam. If you are a creator who is on a break, you're welcome here. If you are a creator who is working and making 2, 3, 4 videos a week, you're welcome here. We want all gamuts of the Christian creator spectrum, whether you're a beginner or that you've been making content for a while, to be connected to TrueFam. But we do have to focus in, and as we tell you guys, we want to pick a niche. And one of the things that we're focused in on, other than the growth-minded creator, is the believer who is entrepreneurial in their mindset, who has a business or even just an assignment that maybe goes beyond just making videos and really steps into a place of, if this is ministry, if this is business, if this is what I'm interested in, then God has me making income perhaps from this venture. And so I want you to introduce our next creator that's going to come up here.
We're going to, in just a moment, we're going to bring Brian on. But before we do, I just want to say this specifically because Brian is a bit of a Bible teacher. But some of us in the Christian YouTube space, we end up creating biblical content and Bible teaching content kind of because there's this unspoken pressure that's what we're supposed to do as Christians. I know on my channel, I did some biblical teaching. Well, because I'm a pastor, I'm a former youth pastor. That's what I've always done. That's what I should be doing on YouTube, let alone the fact that all I really wanted to do when I started YouTube was make a reaction channel. But I didn't do that because it's not what a good Christian is supposed to do. And here's the thing. If you're a Bible teacher, we love you. We want to keep helping you grow. We want to stay in touch with you. And we're not like kicking you out of TrueFam by any means. That's why I love that we're bringing Brian on, because that's part of who he is and part of what he does, but it's not the fullness as he's going to share. But we really are wanting to give Christians permission. Like, you don't have to only do Bible teaching. as a Christian, there's all kinds of different content you can create. And honestly, you might not be called to teach scripture just because
Chris,
you're
say it
a
again.
Christian.
Say it again.
I mean, you might not be called to teach scripture just because you're a Christian. I mean, honestly, I don't believe you're called to YouTube necessarily just teach scripture. God might want to help you develop a platform where you might have influence around people's lives. And influence is not just constantly teaching and preaching. Influence happens through relationship. And so I'm excited to bring Brian on. Brian is absolutely entrepreneurial, and we're going to have him tell you a little bit about who he is and what his goals are as a channel. But I know Brian has been in ministry and all kinds of stuff. So Brian, how are you doing today, man?
I'm good. It has been, man, this week has been bonkers.
Yeah.
And I just drove in from seeing some family and going to a big soccer game in Cincinnati. So I just got in town about an hour ago. So glad to be here.
Yeah, we're so glad that you were able to make time to be here today. That's so exciting. It's actually my first time kind of meeting you face to face. So I love this.
Brian, Brian's the real deal, you guys.
Yeah.
Brian, you already know I'm a huge fan. Hi, hello.
Hi.
You can sign your autograph for me later. I'm a huge fan of Brian because I feel like you embody so much. And I'm going to be honest with you, Brian. You are, when I think of ideal target client, audience, member, participator, and TrueFam member, you are that. You are that. You are our, what do they call it in baseball? Is it prototype? You are the prototype. Football? Nobody?
Sure.
Nobody knows what that
I'm
is.
not
I
sure.
don't know. Listen, I don't know sports. You are truly the person that we think of when we think of somebody who is growth minded, who is a Bible teacher, who is entrepreneurial, who is a Christian creator that really wants to do this at a high level. And I'm super excited to get your insights about all the things we've been talking about. With our first question really being, why did you decide to start YouTube? Why are you here?
Yeah. I don't know, maybe we'll get into it a little bit later, but I think it's funny that I'm like the prototype or whatever you would call it for Christian entrepreneur. Because honestly, that's a word that I've never used of myself before.
Yeah.
And I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute, because part of it was TrueFam and part of it was feedback groups and that sort of thing. So the reason I started on YouTube was I work for an organization that engages with young people, as a youth ministry organization. And we kind of talk about, like, our tagline is like, we go where young people are, right? And that's so far been school campuses and neighborhoods and juvenile justice facilities. And we've completely ignored the online space. And so I've been pushing for years to try and figure this digital ministry thing out. And has kind of
not easy.
Yeah, no, it's not easy to do it safely, right? And to do it well. And so I just decided I'm just going to try something. I'm going to learn the platform. I'm going to learn YouTube, because that's, the number 2 search site that people go to. And I thought this is where we probably need to be. So what do I do on YouTube? Well, I love to teach. I get feedback from people who aren't believers that go, hey, I could listen to you. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe there's a target audience there. And so anyway, I tried to just combine things that I love, something that I think I'm gifted in, on a platform that I know nothing about, that I'm trying to learn. And so to develop skills in digital ministry, to develop communication skills and learn how to connect with an audience in a new way were kind of my 3, targets for jumping on YouTube.
That's so interesting, because, and it's funny to hear you say that you're like, I would not describe myself that way, but that's exactly, that's like the first thing I think of when I think of you, because you are somebody, even before you had a desire or an idea of having, your separate project, which we can talk about a little bit later.
Sure.
But even before that, you struck me immediately as someone who had that in you, because, and Chris, I think, can probably wax poetic on this a little bit better than I could, but one thing that we think of when we think of the entrepreneurial, like, growth-minded Christian is that they're always seeking to understand what they do at the highest level possible. So they're looking for the craft information, but then they're also looking, okay, how am I going to put myself to this? And how am I going to craft my voice in this space?
Right.
And just from what you just said, that's exactly what that was. Like, I heard from non-believers that my biblical teaching was something they could actually listen to and hear. And I realized, oh, that's a target audience. Well, that's how business people think. They see a need, and then they are like, I'm going to fill that need with my unique perspective. So, Chris, I kind of want to bring you into that, because you've taught me. Chris is the one that really brought me into that. I was very much on the creative spectrum and being like, I'm going to do art, blah, blah, blah. And Chris is like, okay, yeah, how do we monetize that? Like, we can't monetize you fooling around acting crazy. So how do we do that? So, Chris, can you talk a little bit about why you think of Brian when you think of this kind of ideal client type of person?
Well, yeah, absolutely. First of all, I think we could monetize you acting crazy, but that's a different conversation. Brian, the first time, early on anyway, when I discovered your channel, Practically Biblical, I think you were like right in the middle of like your first big rebrand with your current logo and all that stuff. I think that's when I came on board, and just the way you talked about it was unique. It was a way that I don't hear a lot of Christian creators teaching or treating their brand. Maybe it's the fact that you have a brand. And you were even then I remember thinking like, this is very an entrepreneurial approach to the YouTube channel, to the YouTube space. And not everyone wants to monetize their space, and not everyone feels called to treat it like a business, and that's okay. You don't have to do that. Yeah. But I do think we should treat it seriously, and I do think we should treat it with excellence and with quality. And it's very clear with the type of content you produce that you're really striving for excellence. It's one of those channels that I start watching your content and I'm like, why does he not have thousands of followers?
Because that's exactly what I said. I literally,
the quality
the
is
came
that
on
good.
There, I said, wait for it. You're going to have like 100,000 subscribers. I can see it already. It's all over the channel.
And I still think like, honestly, it only takes a couple of videos to really break out, and there's enough great content already on your platform and on your channel that I think growth really will happen for you, and I can't wait to be there and see it when it does. But I love how you're involved in a lot of different things, and you're expanding and you're asking questions like, how can I help other people? How can I add value to other people? And do you want to maybe share a few of the ways that you're kind of seeking to do that?
Yeah. First of all, I hope the growth comes, and if it doesn't, like I said, I've kind of hit my targets. And to be honest, one of those targets was to learn YouTube so that I could use it in different areas. And so it may not necessarily be in the youth ministry space right now because of some of these other projects that I've started to do. So so I'm working on some podcasting. I'm working on some video content creation on the sides. And, I've got some people locally who have seen some of my stuff that know me through some other channels that have reached out and said, hey, can you help me with, one guy's he invited me to help him with his YouTube content. And, how do I get better on camera? And how do I do an intro and an outro? And should I use the same, like just those kind of YouTube coaching things, which has gotten me into other spaces of, I've had a podcast for youth ministry leaders for the last 3 years. And so just learning that space combined with learning YouTube has got me into a place where I really love the podcast space. And so I want to get out there and help people learn how to do that. And so I've actually, I may be rambling now, Chris. I don't remember quite the question, but other than the other projects that I'm doing,
you're nailing it.
I've started my own podcast. Tiffany has been a guest on there already called Only Creativity. And Chris, I've got you on the docket when I relaunch. I did five episodes to kind of get that started. But actually what that's done, again, it's got me into new spaces. It's helped me kind of hone in what my niche could be. And so in talking with people, again, here's where the entrepreneurial spirit comes that I never thought I had before. Was I'm starting this podcast production company that, I'm just helping people that have something to share, that want to do it well, to come alongside them, help them sound better. People want to hit record, and we've seen that on YouTube. People want to hit record and just publish it on YouTube, but publish it, on their podcast too. And there's little simple things that people can do. So in addition with that, I started a YouTube channel for it. It's called Summit City Studios, that is really just focused around helping podcasters learn how to hone their craft in podcasting. So kind of taking all the things that I've learned and trying to combine them into one thing that I think will help people grow in a very specific niche while still maintaining practically biblical at some level.
Right. I'm only laughing because this is so classic of someone who has a lot of interest and is like, this is something that Chris does too, right? He will learn information and then be like, I want to apply it to something. I have to apply it because
Guilty.
that's how you know the subject, or you know how to do
Yeah.
it, is when you apply it to an activity. And you literally took that to the hilt, Brian. You were like, I learned this thing and now I'm going to serve people with it and share it. And I want to ask you some more questions a little bit about just the fact that you're newer to this space, and yet you started all these new things that are scary for most people to start. I mean, people have been in business for years and haven't started a YouTube channel. And you're like, I'm going to start 2 YouTube channels and a podcast,
Right.
and I already have another podcast. And so can you talk a little bit about what makes you fearless in this position? What makes you not scared? Or are you, and you're like, I don't care, I'm still doing it?
Okay, so hilarious question. Again, very much like the entrepreneur question. I have always been one who my entire life have been one who has very risk averse. Like, I don't want to take risks. I want to make sure every step is planned out and I know where I'm going. I know what the end game is before I take that first step. And I was really challenged in late 2019 by a speaker that I heard. That I don't need to go into that right now, but just to really step out and put yourself out there. And the things that make you different and unique are the things that can help you succeed and probably will help you succeed. And so I've always understood that, but wanted to take some new chances. And again, with this, the resistance I was feeling, trying to get in the youth ministry space on YouTube in a digital way, I just thought I'm just gonna try it, and it's gonna be for my personal learning and my personal growth. But this is something, if I put myself out there on video, that is really, really risky to me because I don't know how to do this. In many ways, I still feel that way. I certainly didn't at the time when I launched, and so I took that risk. Started getting good feedback, and I thought I'm going to keep going, right? So Chris, you talked about feedback earlier, and I want to touch on that too in a second. But I just, as I started to grow, you talk about the growth mindset too, Tiffany. As I started to grow, I thought I'm growing because I'm taking risks, and I'm not failing as miserably as I thought I might. There's been, obstacles along the way. There's been, failures along the way, but it kind of becomes addicting. You take that risk and you're like, oh, I can do more. And so I've gotten myself into a place of, I'm juggling so many things that I'm trying to figure out, how do I bring this to one place or 2 places instead of 15?
Yeah. Wow.
I find it really interesting because I like just even talking about like, oh, I'm not risk adverse. I see so much of myself in that. Like, I'm not a risk taker. I like having everything planned out, mapped out. I want to know what I'm doing next week today. Like, I don't want to be spontaneous unless I've planned to be spontaneous and flexible. If that's the plan, fine. But like even starting TrueFam with Tiffany, like that's not who I am. I
lost
don't
my audio. Give me
like
1
that.
second. I can't hear you.
Oh, can't hear us. He
I
lost
was gonna
us.
say, is it possible I'm muted? Because I do that all the time.
No, you are not muted. I hear you, but Brian will be back when he hears us. It might be
sure will.
earpods. Can you hear us?
Yeah, it's
now,
always
I got
the
it.
Bluetooth connections that cause us trouble in
Word.
life. But like
Yep.
I like even starting TrueFam Media, that to me, like working with Tiffany on that, I don't take risks like that. I don't do something that's so uncertain and so like, well, oh my gosh. And even with like all my channels, I have 3 channels now, which I don't really recommend, but obviously because I'm not running 3 channels successfully, right? Like
Amen.
Anyway. So there is power in really focusing on one pursuit.
Oh.
However, when you have a lot of interest, sometimes it's got to step out and see what works and what God's gonna open up doors for. And
I'm-
I love that you're taking those risks, Brian. I love it.
I'm living right now. I have two pastors on the line and I have to preach for just 2 seconds. Just give me 2 seconds.
All right.
This is why.
You got it.
Because the two of you crack me up so much. I don't know why y'all don't hang out. Y'all should be friends. You crack me up because I'm over here and like risk is like where I live, right? Like I love doing stuff that don't make any sense. But it's funny to me because even though I enjoy the idea or the concept behind stepping out in faith. Like I love those stories. You know, every Bible story has ever talked about stepping out on faith or doing something where nobody agreed or whatever. I love that. I think it's so dope. But in theory, it's like, oh, this will go well because God's doing it. And it will go linear because God is doing it. But in actuality, it's like a circle swirly, like there's no linear path anywhere. So I have to ask from both of your perspective as people who are risk averse people. I'm more of a risk affirm. I don't even know what the term is, but I enjoy bring it on, bring risk. Why do you feel like this was the place that you were willing to take the biggest risk? Was the reward was bigger? Like what is the because I just find that so fascinating from people who are not spontaneous that you're like, I'm going to do this crazy thing that most people wouldn't do.
Are you asking both of us?
I am. I'm asking.
Okay.
Yeah, either one.
For me, I think because the reward was so great, meaning like maybe not the reward, the purpose of it, like the purpose of trying to get in a space where, again, at the time where youth ministry has been really hesitant to go and to go well. And I just felt like it was worthwhile enough to take the risk, to learn it, to do something, again, that I think I can do decently well on a platform that I don't know, to just try and learn it. So the risk reward was greater on the reward side, that I was willing to step out that way.
Interesting. Chris?
For me, I think when God is leading you to do something, even though sometimes it doesn't make sense or sometimes it's scary, there's still like this sense of peace that you have on it. And when it came to starting TrueFam Media, or before it was even TrueFam Media, you just had a nugget of an idea, but it just jumped out at me, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, I love this, and I want to be a part of making this happen." And you know, anything I do, I want to help people in the process, right?
Yeah.
Even if I don't believe I'm necessarily qualified yet to help people in that process, like I'm all about bringing people along on the journey. And so Tiffany has this idea like, hey, I think there's the need that Christian YouTubers have that we might be able to meet and fulfill that will help them. That's where I'm at. I'm like, yes, okay. If we can help Christian YouTubers, then let me step out and let me be a part of this. And Tiffany, one of the things that drew me to wanting to say yes is because I feel like you are someone who has ideas. Sometimes a lot of ideas, and it can be overwhelming because I don't always have ideas. But I'm someone, I was in the thinking a lot over like the last year prior to getting on board with TrueFam, that like I really would love to help really support someone's idea and help grow it and fan it into flame and bring it into fruition. I feel like I have some giftings there that God has given me to help make that happen. Yeah. So when I hear like this idea, I didn't have this idea. This is Tiffany's idea, but like, oh man, I bet I can help. Maybe I can be a blessing and help her. So that's really what it was. I just believed that I could add value here. I believed that I could help make this idea happen, and I felt peace about it. And so, you know, I guess I wasn't scared for whatever reason. And I probably should have been.
You probably should have been, honestly. And Brian, it's funny because Brian, you are somebody that I remember. You said something a while ago that kind of changed my mind about the whole TrueFam thing. Because initially I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never done this before. And you said what you guys provide is different than anything I've ever seen. And I've been you said I've been looking for this, or I've been looking for that type of space, and it just hasn't existed. So I guess my question to you is, what makes you, I mean, you're a youth pastor, so that kind of fits in that stereotype a little bit, but like what makes you think that community is worth investing in?
Yeah. It's how we grow. It's how we, I want to go back to something as I answer this, put it in context, something I think Amanda said earlier about looking at all the Christian YouTube groups that are out there. And when I jumped onto some of those Facebook groups, I honestly looked at the number of people involved. Okay. And I went, this one's pretty large. It must be legit.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so went that route to learn and to grow. And it was super helpful, super helpful. The thing, and that's how I got initially connected with the two of you. Right.
Right.
And the thing that I appreciated about what you were doing with TrueFam was it was not just smaller, but it was face to face. Like I really appreciated the feedback group and the opportunity to sit and stare at my computer with a live person on the other side of it, or live people on the other side of it, and talk about the things that we were doing, talk about the things that we were struggling with on the platform, talk about the things that we were doing well, and encourage one another. And that really, honestly, kind of circling all the way back to the first question about being a Christian entrepreneur, I think that really fed into that. And, Chris talked about having the right feedback. Like I was getting a lot of feedback from friends and family and going, man, what you're doing is really good. You really know what you're doing. And I look back at my early videos and I went, no, I didn't. I set up my phone and I thought I did the best I could, and it was probably okay.
Yeah.
But to be in a place where I could sit down and talk with Chris and LJ and K Noel and Vaughn and, just really talk about the things that we were doing, and be able to, I think Amanda again talked about humility, put myself out there and go, I think this is really good, but what am I missing? I feel like I'm getting better. Or, hey, this is something that I tried. And does it work? And so that was the thing that TrueFam offered that I didn't find anywhere else. And so I think that really helped build that entrepreneur spirit in me to go, okay, I've got people that really understand what they're doing, or trying to figure it out like I am, and really helping me take the next hard steps that I need to take.
Yeah. And I think that's really key, Brian. What you said there is we're all on a journey to figure it out. And we've experienced various levels of growth here and there. I mean, Tiffany and I both have channels with over 1,000 subscribers and all that stuff. But ultimately, in the Christian YouTube space, we don't claim to have all the answers. We really are just on a journey right now. Like, we need to ask the hard questions, and we need to figure it out. Because I'm tired of seeing Christian YouTubers who've been at this for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. I mean, Tiffany's been at this maybe a year and a half. I've been at it just over a year now. But like so many of the creators that I've seen in this space, the growth that they've experienced is so minimal. And I know growth takes time. Growth takes time. You got to lay that foundation. You got to put in the work. But I'm not seeing the results that I believe we should be seeing. And that is why we're making these shifts at TrueFam, because we've got to stop trying to do what everyone else is doing. And we've got to ask the questions, what's going to work on the Christian YouTube space? What's going to help Christian creators really find that rocket ship moment and, get seen? And really, again, we want God to use these creators. And the message that God has given us and given you, Brian, and given Amanda and Flo and all the wonderful other creators that we're in contact with, I want more people to see it so that God can touch and more people through that content. I believe that God has given us this platform, not so we could just interact with other Christian YouTubers and encourage each other, although that's wonderful and that's great and that's important. But like, we have a message that is for people. And I believe we also have the responsibility to ask, okay, how do we get that message to people? Can God bring them in? Yes, but that's not typically how God has structured things. He sends people out. And that's where we have got to ask the question, all right, how do we get our message out on this new platform, even though it's not really a new platform? But
you said that really well. And Brian, I want to, I always want to encourage you, but I truly do want to encourage you. That humility and that growth mindset is going to set you apart in whatever venture you take on, whether it's podcasting, whether it's the YouTube channel. I think your desire to be not satiated by attention or likes or views, but to be satiated by, okay, I'm growing and I'm serving people, that's going to carry you much further than a lot of what you see in the YouTube space, which is telling you how to get subscribers or how to get viral or what have you. So I just want you to know that, like, obviously me and Chris are in your corner and we are rooting for you, of course. But even more than that, like, if the Lord has favored you the way that I believe that he has, nothing can stop you. So like, do not be afraid. Like, don't be afraid. And from this moment on, you are an entrepreneur, you are a business starter, you are an idea maker, and it took a while for me and Chris to accept that too, but here we are, and like we have a whole business, and I believe that God is doing that for so many of us. And I also really want anyone that's listening, anybody watches the replay, to know we're all in this together. We have no idea what we're doing, but we do trust God. That's one thing about TrueFam that you can know. Me and Chris trust the Lord for your success and for your growth. We don't trust ourselves and our ability. We trust you guys is what you're hearing from the Lord and what he's doing with you. So I trust wholeheartedly, Brian, that God is doing some big things with you. And I don't want you to be afraid of it. Okay.
Yep. I hear that. I appreciate that. I appreciate the encouragement. And there's so much more I want to say. I know you don't have time for it, maybe another time, but I do want to say one last thing. I get to preach tomorrow on Proverbs 27:17 on as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. And that really, TrueFam is going to show up in that message tomorrow, because it really is an example of how that works. As creators come together and talk with one another, and we knock off the rough edges, smooth out the edges, become better as creators, become better as Christian creators. That's really how the lens that I've seen this through. And so for my small little church that I'm preaching to, they're going to hear about TrueFam tomorrow.
I'm so honored. I hope you get a snippet so I can laugh at it. Yeah, this is really awesome, Brian. We definitely will have more time in the future to talk more about this kind of thing. And I'm hoping, me and Chris are really trying to push this community conversation forward, because we're leaders, but we don't want to be the only leaders or even experts in the space. We want other people to come up too. And so we'll definitely be tapping you for more opportunities to kind of have that voice. But thank you for being here. Is there anything else that you want to promote? I want to make sure that I let everybody know. He mentioned a couple different things, guys. Do not forget, right? We have Holy Creativity, which is his podcast that has finished his first season, and he will be starting a new season here soon. He also has his YouTube channel called Practically Biblical. I'm looking to put it up there for you. Here we are. YouTube.com/Practically Biblical. Some amazing stories on there. And the way that Brian attaches and attacks the scripture is very different than I've seen most people tell Bible stories. So get into it. And you have Summit City Studios now, which is your newest venture for helping podcasters and people get up on podcasts. Is that have a URL, or do we need to just say Summit City Studios on
I just dropped it in the chat. You also can search Summit City Studios as well.
Even better. Amazing. Brian, thank you for your time.
Thank you both. Appreciate you.
No problem.
Yes, thank you.
See you later. Chris.
Tiffany.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, we had some awesome interviews today, more than I could have asked for, honestly.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for all three of them for joining us, and it's been a blast.
And our shift now, Chris, just to solidify in the minds and hearts of viewers, the shift is that we are shifting as a company, as a business, and as a YouTube channel to inviting community conversations and hard conversations to challenge our perspective. We are focusing on the growth-minded creator and building a growth mindset. And we're interested in making sure that we really cater to the entrepreneurial Christian, the Christian that wants to have permission to step outside of just Bible teaching and really move into a focused desire to maybe monetize what they're doing and monetize their business. What else would you say people need to know about our shift?
Well, I would say, one, if you want to go with us on this journey, if what we're talking about is resonating with you, then please stay connected to TrueFam Media here. Go ahead and like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel if for some reason you're not. But I also want to make sure you're where we are so that we can stay connected and go and grow together. So there's a couple things I just want you to be aware of. One, make sure you're a part of the YouTube Cafe for Christian Creators Facebook group, because that's one of the places that we hang out. That's one of the places where we're involved with and engaging in these conversations. Now, if you're interested in taking your support of TrueFam Media to the next level, or maybe you just are interested in a little bit more access, we do have a private Facebook group, and we're actually streaming there right now as well as here. And the advantages of the private Facebook group is you have more access to Tiffany and myself, and we'll be having even more conversations as well in that group. And the way you can join that group is by going to buymeacoffee/TrueFam Media, and it's $15 a month to be a part of that group and that membership. And a lot of the people that are in that group now, if I were to address you guys for just a moment, those who have earned lifetime access, you still have lifetime access. We're not revoking that. If you feel led to support us financially, you can visit Buy Me a Coffee and do so. But we won't be revoking your membership. We promise you lifetime access, and we're committed to that. We do occasionally do other live streams or trainings or whatnot. But the big advantage of that is if you want feedback on something, if you want feedback on your video, drop it in there. And Tiffany and I, we're in that group. And we see it and we engage. We've answered a couple of really great questions, even this past week from Flo, from Josh. And we love just having that more personal connection with you. And the final thing is Tiffany and I are working on a course for creators that I mean, that's why we're asking such hard questions. And we want to, if you really are serious about growth and about this journey and going with TrueFam, you're going to want to pay attention and look out for more information about that because it's coming soon. We're really working hard and learning just kind of what is going to be most beneficial for you as a creator to help you grow. And we can't wait to get more into that. Tiffany, did I miss anything? You want to add anything?
I just want to say, you guys, I am so pleased, not just with where we are now as a team and community, but you guys, I'm really pleased because I have grown with Chris over the last, we started this in January of this year, right, Chris, 2021. Yeah. And here we are, almost 11 months later. And it's just amazing to me to see the community that we're building and continuing to grow in. And Chris, I kid you not, we talk about accountability a lot. We talk about humility. We talk about all those things. We're not just blowing smoke, you guys. Me and Chris practice this with each other. We have had many a meeting where we want to fight and throw each other out the other door. And yet God has really seen us through because we are not just business partners, we're actual friends. We're legitimate friends, and we actually do connect and get irritated with each other and grow with each other. Yeah. And Chris is the person that gives me the hardest feedback probably on my videos. He's the one that's like, yeah, you're not that good. Let's fix this. But you have no idea how grateful I am to have found an accountability partner and a friend in this person that I've also started a YouTube channel with. So I want to encourage you. Community is not just something we say as a buzzword. We mean it. We want you guys to start businesses. We want you guys to connect with other creators. We want you to collaborate. We want you to give feedback. We want you to have friendships and not be isolated as creators. That is what TrueFam is about. We are here to build. And so if you're ready to build with us, you should join us, connect with us, be with us. And you have access to us. We're not big time. We don't have tons and thousands of people around right now. Right. So we're excited to be able to have access and open conversation with you, especially now when that's all we want to do is serve you guys and connect with you. So please plug in and please don't be shy. And of course, we'll see you guys in the next video, always.
Yeah. Absolutely. We'll got to keep creating content on our YouTube channel. It is not the end of TrueFam, just the end of our original approach.
Yes, end of our original approach. It's a great way to play. So we hope you have a great rest of your Saturday, friends, and we will see you next time.
Thanks
Bye
so much
now.
for being here.